and gentlemen,
this is 3 Count Review.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
Welcome, everyone, to 3 Count Review, the most must-hear wrestling podcast in history. This is 3 Count Review. This is the first ever Friday Night Smackdown review here on 3 Count Review. Of course, I missed last week, unfortunately, but I'm here this week. I'm here to talk about Smackdown, and I'm extremely excited because I had a really fun. I've had a really good day. I was just really excited. I'm a sports fan, so I love drafts. So I don't know. For some reason, I had a really good feeling about tonight. SmackDown has been fun. I think Fox has a say in this. I think WWE is putting a lot of effort into Friday nights now. I mean, it's only been 2 weeks, but I think they're putting in an effort for Fox. And I've just had a really good time watching so far. So, yeah. First, I'm going to talk about the draft itself. I'm going to make that just separate. I'm going to start the show off with that. And then I'm going to talk about the rest of the show, like, you know, the wrestling. So, before I get into that, if you are watching this on YouTube, hello. Thank you for watching. Please hit subscribe because I do wrestling reviews after Monday Night Raw. I do Wednesday Night War. I do Friday Night SmackDown. And I do pay-per-views both Saturday and Sunday right after the show. And if I work, because sometimes I have to work at nights till 9, I record the show, I watch it, I come in late. I work tirelessly for my audience. And just because I love wrestling. I absolutely love wrestling right now. So thank you all for watching on YouTube. Please hit subscribe, hit the bell, hit the like. Obviously, all of that fun stuff. If you're listening on the podcast version, thank you for listening. If you want to watch me, because I'm quite animated when I do this stuff, you can go to the YouTube channel, 3 Count Review on YouTube. The links are always on my Twitter. Please subscribe to the podcast. If you like listening to podcasts, I'm a big podcast guy. I'm a very big podcast guy. I listen to multiple wrestling podcasts, multiple sports podcasts. So if you, I totally get it if you're a podcast guy. Please subscribe. Please follow the podcast. Like I said, at least 3 episodes a week. So, and you know, if you're on iTunes or anything else that has a rating system, please give me a 5-star review. I will be checking that frequently, and I will start giving shout-outs to 5-star review people. I would very much appreciate it because, unfortunately, as part of the algorithm that it helps bolster the, the podcast. Like, it helps distribute it. It gives it a good rating, and then it sends it out to more people. So I would very much appreciate that. I thank you very much for the podcast listeners. And for the YouTube channel subscribers, you guys are awesome. Thank you very much for watching. Before I get into the rest of the thing, Twitter also, at 3 Count Review. I live tweet when I watch live. If I don't watch live, I stay off Twitter to avoid spoilers. Simple as that. But I do live tweet when I watch live. So at 3 Count Review. If you want to follow my personal Twitter, I've been very funny on Twitter lately. I'll pat myself on the back for sure. That was my shoulder. There we go. At Olsen2K18. Anyway, let's get into this draft. So here's how it went. Since Raw is a 3-hour show, they got 3 picks to every SmackDown 2 picks, which makes sense. I'm totally okay with that. Raw having a bigger roster, they have more opportunity for opportunities, so I'm okay with it. So Raw has a couple, 4 more picks than SmackDown does, which is fine. So in order, I'm going to try to do this in order because it's the way I'm looking at it is separated from Raw and SmackDown. So the number 1 overall pick. Oh, and hold on. So I was confused by this too, and I forgot about it when I started watching SmackDown. I was very confused that Seth Rollins wasn't being picked. But the first night, there was a pool of 30 superstars who could be drafted tonight. The other 40 could be drafted or can be drafted on Monday. Now, Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins, those guys are Monday night. So this pool of 30 is who they could pick from for tonight. So that makes sense. But nonetheless, the number 1 overall pick in the 2019 WWE Draft, going to Monday Night Raw, staying on Monday Night Raw. No surprise here. The Raw Women's Champion, Becky Lynch. Yeah, makes sense. That's all I got on that. Of course she's staying on Raw. A lot of people figured that she was going to be going to SmackDown because she is so big and because she's so hot right now. And, SmackDown's kind of like the A show now. But this makes sense since she's still the champion. If she would have lost to Sasha at Hell in a Cell, then I could see her staying on or going to SmackDown. But her staying on Raw makes all the sense. The number 2 pick and the first pick for SmackDown was Roman Reigns. Of course, they want their top guy. Of course, Roman, I think, is still the top guy in Vince's eyes. So keep the top guy in SmackDown. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. And then the third pick was the OC. AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson. That's huge for Raw. That's a great pick. Like, I know, trust me, I know this is wrestling. It's predetermined, and I know they had this planned out. But that's a great pick for USA and for Raw. Because not only do you get the United States champion AJ Styles, which means we're not flipping the titles. So that means Nakamura is going to stay on SmackDown. Yes. I'm a big SmackDown dude. That means you also get Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson. So that's awesome. Like, you could have just picked AJ, and then the OC could have been split up. I'm really glad they didn't split up the OC this time. Last time they got together, they were together for a few months. They beat up John Cena, and then they got split up in the draft. So I'm really glad that didn't happen this time. So then the next pick for SmackDown, the second pick, huge. I thought he was going to stay on Raw. Apparently he's going to SmackDown, which I'm fully okay with. Like I said, I'm a SmackDown guy, so I'm all in on this. Bray Wyatt and The Fiend drafted to SmackDown, their second pick. Roman and Bray, your 2 picks. Awesome. And then the next pick, Drew McIntyre. Love it. Absolutely love it. That positions him in the first round. They did this in rounds of like 3-2. You know. And so the last pick of the first round, Drew McIntyre. Awesome. Love it. That's positioning him to be a top guy. Hopefully now we can get Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins, who I'm assuming is staying on Raw. We'll see on Raw on Monday. But yeah, love it. Hopefully they position him as a top guy. Absolutely love it. So then the next round, the first pick of the second round, Randy Orton going to Raw. I'm okay with that. Randy's been kind of boring and lazy lately. And I am getting a little ahead of myself, but Randy is now split up from the Revival, who obviously SmackDown Tag Team Champions. They're staying on SmackDown. So that's interesting. They're not keeping that stable together. I actually really enjoyed that stable. So whatever. That's okay. So yeah, Randy Orton. Then the next pick for SmackDown is Sasha Banks. Blue hair, going to the blue brand. Of course. I like this. Because what I'm assuming now, because it's Becky was drafted to Raw and Sasha's going to SmackDown. What I'm assuming is going to happen, spoilers for the end of the show, which I'll get into, but Bayley won the SmackDown Women's Championship. So now you're going to put, actually, I don't know. You could almost keep, because Bayley's obviously going to stay for SmackDown. Charlotte, I thought was going to stay on SmackDown, and Bayley would have gone to Raw. This is what I was thinking before the final, the match at the end. But now you could almost put Sasha, Bayley, and Charlotte on SmackDown. Ugh. Nah, put Charlotte on Raw, split those two up. You can do Charlotte, Becky, whatever, but you can do Bayley and Sasha. They can be together for a while. They can maybe win the women's tag championships, and then you can have them split up and have a really good feud. Wouldn't mind it. But we'll come back to that later. So, okay, Sasha was picked. Then we go to Raw, who picked Ricochet. Ricochet staying there. I'm okay with that. I would have liked to see him on SmackDown. I think he would have been a decent fit, but SmackDown is kind of turning out to be the land of the Giants, so I'm actually okay with that. Speaking of land of the Giants, Ricochet would have got mixed up in that. Speaking of land of the Giants, the next pick for SmackDown was Braun Strowman. I'm okay with this. I thought Strowman should have went to SmackDown during the Superstar Shakeup earlier in the year, so I'm really okay with this. I really like Strowman going to Friday nights. I think it's a good fit. I think you could, realistically, when this Cain Velasquez stuff wraps up, I realistically think Strowman could be the one to dethrone Lesnar. Maybe. Don't put him in a title match if he's not going to win it. But that could be big. If not, you go to Roman versus Brock. If not, you could do Braun winning the title and Braun versus Roman for the title at Mania. There's a lot of different things with those big guys. You could even, obviously, Bray Wyatt could be thrown in there. There's a lot of different things that could happen. I'm very excited for SmackDown. And then the last pick of that second round, yes, was no. I almost spoiled one. Bobby Lashley. Fine. Keep him away from SmackDown. Thanks. Which I can only assume means Rusev's going to get drafted as Raw on Monday. Anyway, the next round we started off Raw picking Alexa Bliss. Fine by me. No complaints here. Then we go to Lacey Evans on SmackDown. Good here. I don't mind Lacey. She's actually been getting better and better. And I like her gimmick. I liked it coming out of NXT. So her now coming to SmackDown, her getting better in the ring, I think this could be really good. With the majority of the 4 horsewomen potentially being on SmackDown, this could be good for her to work in the ring with a lot of those women. So I'm very much into that. Raw then picked Kevin Owens. Kevin's going to Raw. He was good on SmackDown, but Raw is going to be more of the sports entertainment show, and SmackDown is going to be more of the sports show. So that makes sense. I just want to put it into perspective that Ricochet, Lashley, and Alexa Bliss were all picked before Owens. Owens should have picked whatever. It's whatever. After Owens, SmackDown picked the Revival, like I mentioned earlier, which makes sense. They're SmackDown Tag Team Champions. And then Raw, with their last pick of the third round, was Natalya. Fine. You know what? They split up Lacey and Natalya. I actually was very excited when I heard that. So no more Natalya versus Lacey. Love that. Love that. Okay, so then the fourth round and the final round of tonight, obviously more rounds coming on Raw. We had Raw started out by drafting the Viking Raiders, who, of course, on Raw have a Raw Tag Team Championship match with Rudolph. I think they're going to win. And I wouldn't mind if they split up Rudolph. Put Rude on SmackDown, Dolph on Raw. Wouldn't mind that at all. Because they very heavily emphasize that a tag team can be split up. So wouldn't mind that at all. SmackDown picked Lucha House Party. Hopefully it's not Lucha House Party. Hopefully they're all singles competitors. My feeling is that it's going to be Lucha House Party. I don't know. It's not a good gimmick. It's not working. It hasn't worked. Then Raw picked Nikki Cross, keeping her on the same brand as Alexa Bliss, so they can stay a women's tag match. They can do their feud here, which I'm assuming they've been building to, where eventually one of them turns on the other, and I wouldn't mind that feud at all. Then we have SmackDown, picking another tag team in Heavy Machinery. Love them on SmackDown. They probably fit more on the sports entertainment side of Raw, but you know what? I don't even care. I love Heavy Machinery. I love the fact that they are on SmackDown. And the final pick of the night, the Street Profits, going to Monday Night Raw. Finally, they will probably start wrestling on the main roster. I said this last week. They'll probably start wrestling after the draft. Absolutely love this. They'll be good on. I wouldn't be surprised. You know what? Put the tag titles on the Viking Raiders. Have the Street Profits be there for just have the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders. Those matches, and then I know they won't be NXT matches, but those guys can go out there and still put on a great match. I think that could be really fun to watch. So that was the first night of the draft. Free agents out of the 30 that could have been drafted tonight include Akira Tozawa. Oh man, I didn't even realize there's a lot of 205 guys, 205 live guys on here. I'm guessing a lot of these free agents will sign with NXT because the free agents are able to sign with the network of their choosing. You know, people like Cesaro, Let me read off the Akira Tozawa, Cesaro, Chad Gable, Drew Gulak, EC3, Eric Young, Heath Slater, Humberto Carrillo, Sin Cara, Tamina, and the B team. I'm assuming people like the B team, Heath Slater, Eric Young, Gable, Cesaro, those people signed with either Raw or SmackDown as undrafted free agents. But I would really like to see people like Tozawa, Gulak, EC3, Humberto Carrillo. I forgot Sin Cara was a thing, actually. I would love to see them say, nah, sorry, main roster. I'm actually going to go sign with NXT. I think that would be cool. I would love for like a couple of these guys to be out in the ring just complaining about them not being drafted. And then William Regal comes out on Monday Night Raw, which would be big, huge, and say, I'll sign 3 of you to Raw or to NXT. I think that would be awesome. I think that would be so cool. So hopefully that happens. But overall, I really enjoyed this. This was fun. Throughout the night while they were doing these draft announcements, Stephanie did the announcements. I didn't mind that, whatever. But they showed clips from the Fox headquarters and the USA headquarters and the executives in their boardroom, you know, and every time they do, well, not every time, but every round at least, they would show the executives either cheering, like really bad acting cheering. It was actually hilarious. I really enjoyed it as like a it's so bad it's good type of thing. Because there was one guy I saw, I think it was in the Fox executive board, right front right. He would cheer for like 3 seconds, but the video was 10 seconds, and then he would just like start laughing and looking at everyone and just like stop selling. It was so funny. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. I don't know. I enjoyed this. Not too many complaints. Like I said, I think Kevin Owens should have been drafted higher. Whatever. But everything else I quite like, actually, except for the Lucha House Party. Although looking at the free agents, Cesaro. I would have picked Cesaro over Lucha House Party. I would have picked EC3, but of course they're not going to look at him. Yeah. Or Gable. Gable, who wrestled on this show, wasn't drafted over Lucha House Party. Also, Heavy Machinery was drafted after Lucha House Party. And so were the Street Profits. Okay. And don't get me wrong, that's no disrespect to Lucha House Party. They're all phenomenal workers, specifically Gran Metalik, who I think is very underrated, and Lince Dorado, very good. I actually watched 205 Live for a while. They're very good wrestlers. And Kalisto, he's a two-time two-time United States champion, and he was I don't think he won the Cruiserweight. But anyway, they're all really good. I just don't like the Lucha House Party gimmick. They haven't been booked well in the main roster. So that's where that's where this all comes in. Anyway, that was the draft. I loved it. It was really fun. They also had a draft panel. It was the pre-show panel. They just brought the pre-show panel stage. It was Renee Young, Booker T, Beth Phoenix. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. And Samoa Joe, which Samoa's a good talker. I don't know. Honestly, 100%, I'll be honest with you guys, didn't pay attention to those segments. So couldn't tell you what they said. There might have been some storytelling in there, but since I was watching this after the fact, I did not pay attention to these whatsoever. So as far as the actual show goes, we had the first match of the night was Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. The winner got the first overall pick in the draft. I think we all knew who was going to win this. It just makes sense since Raw got 3 picks and SmackDown got 2 picks. It just makes sense for Raw to have 2 picks. So Seth won this, but Seth won by disqualification. Let me explain. So this was a really entertaining match. If you gave these two a pay-per-view match right now, it would be phenomenal. These two, they know each other so well. They have great in-ring chemistry. I had a lot of fun watching this. At one point, Seth did the spot that we've already seen in a past championship match between these two, where Roman went for the spear and Seth countered it into the pedigree. Love the spot. Absolutely, it looked really good here. The match was just filled with counters to their simple moves because they know each other so well. It was a really good story in the ring. I really enjoyed this match. Towards the end of the match, Reigns went for the spear, countered into the pedigree, right? 2 count. Rollins was then going for the stomp. Stomp, 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 stomp it on the burn it down. When the lights went out. And they didn't even... Oh, I actually really like this as the Fiend. Or for the Fiend. Yes, it was the Fiend. Instead of systematically going out, they just went out. It's like he was pissed. He was mad about Sunday. And instead of like teasing you and like kind of freaking you out, nope, lights just go out. And when the flashing lights and whatever the weird sound is comes on, Bray had busted through the ring and was giving Seth the mandible claw, dragged him down in under the ring, right? Lights came back on. Seth climbed out. The music started playing with the lights still on, and Bray just pokes his head out from under the ring. Awesome. Lights turn off again. Lights come back on. Bray's on the top of the ring posing. We go to commercial break. So Seth won because of disqualification from the Fiend interfering in the match. This was awesome. I really enjoyed it. Now, I had a complaint about this, but now I can't remember. Of course they were going to end it in like a weird smudge finish. Of course they were. They weren't going to pin either Seth or Roman. Of course they weren't. I guarantee you Seth will be the first pick for Raw on Monday, and Brock will be the first pick for SmackDown. Guaranteed. You can put the KO guarantee on that. I can't remember what my complaint about this was, so we're not going to talk about it. Anyway, then we had the first round picks. They had this really... Okay, so they had a couple segments in here. One with Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, the number one commentary team for Fox NFL Sunday. And they had one with the Fox NFL pregame guys, Michael, Howie, Terry, Tony, and Kurt. There it is, Kurt Menefee, of course. I'm a big sports guy, so I really enjoyed this. I watch Fox. I watch NFL on Fox, and I watch the pre-show sometimes. I enjoyed this because they were talking wrestling, and they're the guys I normally watch. But for a channel that a couple channels that I frequently watch, and I'm huge fans of, guys like Wrestle Talk, Cultaholic, those guys who don't watch sports. And Wrestle Talk talks about this a lot. They don't watch sports. They're not into sports, which is fine. It's just not that, you know what? That's fine. I totally get that. They are going to hate this. They're literally just going to be like, and some sports guys talked about wrestling, which makes sense. It's not for everyone, but SmackDown is going for this real sports feel. So I really enjoyed this, having Joe and Corey Graves. If you know Joe Buck and just the aura around him and the fan reaction to him, you know that Joe Buck is whatever. Corey Graves said, Michael Cole is like Joe Buck. You're really good at your job, but everyone still hates you. Great stuff. Anyway, this was fun. Baron Corbin versus Shorty Gable. I don't mind the Shorty Gable name. I don't know if I've said this before, but I hated it at first. But the babyface is accepting it. It's a name change that came somewhat organically. It wasn't just a name change. You're Andrade now. Corbin declared his name, decreed, whatever his decree. He said, you are now Shorty Gable. So there's actually a reason behind the name. The babyface is accepting the name because he's going to overcome being called short. I don't mind this at all. I think it's actually really good storytelling from their standpoint. Corbin versus Gable. If you would have told me a year ago, King Corbin versus Shorty Gable, I actually would have believed you because it's WWE. But King Corbin instead of Baron Corbin and Shorty Gable instead of Chad Gable. Anyway, this was a good match. I've always said these two have really good chemistry since the first time I saw them in the ring together in the King of the Ring tournament. This was great. I really enjoyed this. A lot of back and forth, a lot of teases with the ankle lock. A lot of chaos theories. Gable looked good, but he tweaked his back because Corbin was going after the back throughout most of the match. Eventually, end of days, Corbin won clean. They might be done with Gable. Gable might be at the end of his short push, which we see short pushes for people all the time. So this might be the end of Gable's. Unfortunately, I think Gable is great. More draft picks, more recap. We had recap of Strowman Tyson. We had recap of Lesnar Velasquez. Those matches are both announced for Crown Jewel. Lesnar versus Tyson Fury. No, Strowman versus Tyson Fury. And Brock Lesnar defending his WWE Championship against Cain Velasquez. If they let Cain Velasquez wrestle like he did in AAA, this should be a really good match. But I don't think they will. I think they'll have him wrestle as a big man. That's just my opinion. So then we had Brock Lesnar and Heyman come out. He cut a promo about, Brock did get beat in the UFC by him, but now, this is Brock's element in WWE, so Brock's going to be able to conquer Cain Velasquez. Excuse me. Out comes Rey Mysterio with Cain Velasquez. They showed footage from UFC 121 when Velasquez beat Lesnar. Very, very bloody, and it showed Lesnar getting his scar that he has on his cheek, which I honestly did not notice until tonight. Velasquez cut a promo in Spanish. Mysterio translated. He promised to give Lesnar a scar on the other side of his face. I actually really enjoyed this. I don't mind Mysterio with Velasquez. It's actually a really good visual putting them next to each other. So, I don't know. Like I said, if he wrestles like he did in AAA, I'm excited for this match. If not, and I'm leaning towards the Yeah. Then we had New Day come out for a Susan G. Coleman announcement. Always good stuff here. I love that I've heard very shady things about Susan G. Coleman, but WWE at least doing something like this, it's good. I can't fault them for it. You can only fault the organization. So that's my stance on this. Anyway, we had the New Day versus the OC, which they were billing as the last time we'll ever see this possibly the last time we'll ever see this because the OC's already drafted to Raw. New Day's probably going to get drafted to SmackDown. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But this was a really fun match. Of course, the end of the match saw a really, 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 really good exchange between Kofi and AJ Styles. This made me want to see Kofi versus AJ. Like, now. These two were countering each other perfectly. It was a really exciting end to the finish. I absolutely loved it. Kofi eventually hit the Trouble in Paradise for a clean win over AJ. Awesome. Maybe actually they get drafted to Raw and you do Kofi versus AJ for the U.S. title. Wouldn't mind that at all. More draft picks. And then the main event of the night, the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bayley, which I already said earlier in the podcast, Bayley beat Charlotte Flair to regain her SmackDown Women's Championship. Bayley comes out, new music, new gear, and short hair, which I don't know if that was... She took a weapon and destroyed the blow-up buddies as part of her entrance, or that were part of her entrance. Awesome. Absolutely love it. I love this new Bayley character. She has short hair now. Black and gold things with Bayley on her. Absolutely love it. Full-on heel Bayley, continuing from the story from Hell in a Cell. Awesome. I absolutely love it. I'm all in on heel Bayley, and heel Bayley is now the champion. This was a really good match. I really, really enjoyed this. Heel Bayley is a good character. Charlotte, as a face, is not a great character, but I still really enjoyed the match and the dynamic of it. This was also so fun. I honestly just go watch this. After the match, Bayley grabbed the mic and called fans. She said, "Hey, bitches." And then she said something along the lines of, "I don't need you anymore." Or "Screw you," I think she said. Heel Bayley. I'm here for this. She was doing really good at I'm still a face, but I'm actually a heel. Now she's full on heel. And I absolutely love it. Her music is kind of crap. But I love the gimmick. Overall, great episode of SmackDown. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Nothing huge happened. I mean, title change, obviously, that's pretty huge. I don't know. It was a really fun show. I don't want to give it a 5 out of 5 because I feel like last week's, I feel like was a 5 out of 5. That was just a really fun and entertaining show. Questionable in hindsight, but in the moment, super fun to watch. That was a 5 out of 5 show. This is a solid 4 out of 4 show. 4 out of 5 show. So, yeah. Let me know what you thought of SmackDown down in the comments below, or if you're listening to the podcast, tweet me at 3CountReview. Like I said, please give me a subscribe, a follow, a like, ring the bell, all that fun stuff. 5-star review on iTunes. I'll give you a shout out on the next time. Thank you all for listening / watching, and I will see you on Monday for the next 3 Count Review.
When I'm strong, I'm nearly one. I might be too on. Wishing inside I could feel so numb. Oh, now that you're gone away, you feel it in the night. You want what's underneath. It's alright, no more